Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 75, Vettori versus Cannonier. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is a Stats and Stacks podcast. And honestly, let's address the elephant in the room. We went 0-2 on locks last week. I mean, Steve Urseg came through with for us, which is nice. Good plus money, over plus 200. It was like 220 at kickoff. So if you hit that, awesome. But we want to hit these locks. And we have been honest. We started the year hot, like burning hot. We've simmered down ice cold, but we're looking to return back to the medium here. It's a fun fight card. That's how we'll put it. It's not a lot of talent rich fight card. It's not real bottom of the barrel. It's just fun. A lot of finishers on this card. There should be a lot of unders that hit. Like it's gonna be just an overall fun night of fights, excluding the very first fight of the night. So honestly, let's just go ahead and jump into it, get out of this first fight so that we can start having fun. The very, very first fight of the night, we're looking at Modestas Bukakas at minus 195 going up against Zach Puega plus 165. Over 2.5 minus 180, under 2.5 at plus 145. Where do you want to start? It doesn't matter. I don't like either one of these guys, to be quite frank with you. Let's start with Zach. No K, just ZAC. That's already a red flag to start. His striking's good. He's a pretty good counter striker. He only has one career loss. It's up at heavyweight. Is it against the bad Usman? Yeah, that's not the greatest look there. He's beat a UFC vet in Marcus Perez, but Marcus Perez isn't exactly the greatest thing going. He's 35 years old, so he had an extensive football career, and then he picked up UFC or MMA. I'm so sorry. I mean, he's had a good fight camp at Team Elevation. They have a good team there, and his cardio is good just because he's at Elevation Fight Team. But at the end of the day, he can't really wrestle. He doesn't really have a ground game. All he really wants to do is strike. And he's pretty decent at striking. The problem with Zach is that he's chinny as fuck. He's just not, he can't take a punch. And his last fight against Jordan Wright, he was fighting a power puncher. So he literally just clinched and held him up against the cage for 15 straight minutes. I mean, when Zach lets his hands go, you see potential there. It's just he's 35. How much time does he have? How much better can he get? He picked this up not too long ago. I don't know, man. I'm just not a big Poaga believer. On the flip side, I definitely don't believe in Modestas Bukakas. Hell, the UFC doesn't even believe in Bukakas. They cut him. He won 2 fights on the regional scene, and they brought him back on short notice. So, I mean, he was in the promotion, and they let him go. So, I don't know how else you can prove that you don't believe in a guy. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, which is nice here. His striking is also good. It's actually quite good. I think he has really good striking. It's just low volume. He does not throw. It's the most annoying thing in the world. He will drive you crazy. I told myself I would never bet Modestas Bukakas ever, just because of how low volume. He just stands there and he waits to counter. And if you don't throw, he's not throwing. He don't care. He's only countering. He does not care. He's extremely hittable as well because he's waiting for you to throw, and sometimes you tag him a few times while he's waiting to counter your shot. Again, when he does counter, it's good. He has really good counters. It's just he doesn't throw any combos. He throws everything 1 or 2 at a time. And sometimes you can get 4 or 5 off on him before he goes on and tries to counter you once. So it's a terrible strategy, and the judges seem to hate it. It did not work in the UFC. He lost to Jimmy Crute. He got knocked out. He lost Michael Olien J. Chuck. He lost to Khalil Roundtree. And then they cut him. And then, of course, they let him back after 2 fights on the regional scene. So I don't know, man. He's not very good. He's durable, though. He's not chinny. And again, Zach, all it takes is one. I think his chin is a little suspect. So I understand why Modestas is the favorite, but I can't bet Modestas is the favorite. I didn't want to bet him in general. I did pull the trigger against Tyson Pedro because the odds are way off, and we won on Modestas, which is nice. But I think you don't want to cross that bridge too many times. You don't want to push your luck. So I will never bet Modestas again unless the line makes me. And this line is making me do the fucking opposite. And I hate Zach Poaga like as a better. think he's the side here. It feels gross. It feels terrible. I truly don't want to do this, but it's sheer dogger pass. I can't. I will never bet Modestus as a favorite. So the pick is going to be Zach, and the bet's going to be Zach just because he has more volume, and Modestus is nothing but lose decisions. Next fight of the night, we finally have some good stuff here. We have Daniel Argueda at plus 160 going up against Ronnie Lawrence at minus 190. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 195. Let's go ahead and start with Ronnie Lawrence. He was everyone's darling coming off the Contender Series. Dana White pegged him as a future champion. He has good striking, but you don't see it. He fancies he's generally a striker, but he's one of these guys that although he doesn't have a wrestling pedigree, he has great MMA wrestling. It's very GSP reminiscent. GSP had zero wrestling before he started training MMA, and he became a takedown specialist. That's the exact same thing here. He has good cardio. Again, his striking's good. His volume's a little lower. I'm not a fan of that. But his schedule's pretty good. I mean, he fought Said Yakub Kakramanov, which, again, no one and their mother understands why that man is cut. That guy could be a future champ. So I have no idea why he's cut. Mana Martinez isn't terrible, although he's now cut. Vince Cachero, he wasn't too good. Jose Johnson's okay. He's on the current roster. Garrett Armfield's okay. He's on the current roster. Steve Garcia's okay. He's on the current roster. Like, he's fought a lot of just UFC caliber fighters. I don't know. His takedowns are nice. And his takedown defense is interesting. Because I think whoever wins this fight is going to be the better wrestler. That's how you can determine who the better fighter is. I think Lawrence is the better fighter. At the end of the day, he's the better striker. The wrestling is a wash. I have absolutely no idea. On the ground, I'll give the advantage to Argueda, but by the slightest of margins. But the feet, it's a pretty substantial an advantage for Ronnie. And if Ronnie can take down Argueda and kind of mix and match and have a balanced attack, Ronnie wins us all day. He should be a minus 190 favorite. The problem is, I don't know if Argueda is the better wrestler or not. I don't know if Ronnie's the better wrestler. Whoever is dictates where the fight goes. If Ronnie's the better fighter, he's going to keep this fight standing, or he's going to be on top of Daniel where he's no threat. If Daniel's the better wrestler, Ronnie has a pretty good get-up game, but he got worn out getting taken down repeatedly against Said Jakub. So Argueda can do that. Argueda has good wrestling. It's very good wrestling. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu's okay. I was shocked to see he's going to have a reach advantage here. My only quarrel with this matchup is that every single one of Daniel Argueda's takedowns I've seen in the UFC were double legs. He's a pretty good single. He's a pretty good double. He doesn't do a lot of upper body Greco-Roman stuff. And all of Said Yakub's takedowns when Ronnie Lawrence got taken down 10 times, they were all upper body. They were all trips and upper body. And I haven't seen David do any of those takedowns. I've only seen him shoot a double or a single. So if that's his entire game plan, he's not too good at the upper body stuff. I think Ronnie's going to be fine. If he can do that stuff, I think Ronnie could be in some trouble. And I think the line is appropriate, but I think you have good value on Daniel. I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to pick Ronnie. I'll go ahead and I'll bet Ronnie. Ronnie hasn't fought in a year after that Said matchup. I'm sure he's been training his ass off. So I'll go with the potential and the overall better fighter. So the pick is Ronnie. The bet is Ronnie, but do not throw him in parlays. I think this is a sketchy fight. Next fight of the night, talking about sketchy, we have back-to-back picks with our over-unders here. I think that over is going to hit. Actually, that's why I would bet the fight. Ronnie Lawrence, Daniel Argueda, neither one of these guys are really finishers. So I really truly like the over here. This next fight, I really truly like the under. We have Teresa Bleda minus 260 going up against Gabriela Fernandez at plus 220. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 235. Under 2.5. I had at plus 195, but the last time I checked, it was plus 130 and continually dropping. Everyone is piling money on the under. Why? Because of both these fighters. Let's start with Bleda. She's someone that people thought was really, really good until she got exposed by Natalia Silva. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Natalia Silva is just an absolute stud. Has a fight coming up against Andrea Lee, which is going to be absolute dynamite. But Blada's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. She's only 21 years old, so she's going to get better and better every time we see her. Her striking, not that good. She looks the part, but she's not a very good striker. She is really, really strong, which helps her grappling. Her wrestling is okay. It's not bad. It's okay. Her jiu-jitsu is good. Her jiu-jitsu is her bread and butter, and she has good enough wrestling, especially in women's MMA, to get you down. She does muscle everything, so if she comes across someone that's just as equally jacked as she could run into some issues. And she does slow down in her fights. And that's why I'm just a touch concerned because Fernandez is just equally as jacked as she is. She's a big, strong girl as well. The problem is it's complete opposite. She's a very good striker, zero wrestling, zero ground game. So this is the generic wrestler versus striker matchup. Fernandez has a 50% takedown defense, so that is not good at all. She also has a tendency to slow down in her fights. She's just athletic as shit. She's good on the feet. So you have one girl that's super strong and really good on the ground. You have one girl that's super strong and really good on the feet. Fernandez could easily catch her on the feet and put her lights out because Bleda just got knocked out in her last fight. Or Bleda could easily take down Fernandez and then actually go ahead and submit her or finish her with ground to pound, as Fernandez almost got finished by Jasmine Jasdavicius on the ground in her last fight. She ended up ultimately losing a decision because of the wrestling, but she almost got finished a few times down there. And Jasmine can't finish a sandwich, so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and bet violence here, especially while it's still plus money, but hop on it now. Again, I got it at plus 195. And the last time I checked, it was all the way down at plus 130, and that line is moving. So the pick is gonna be Blada. I'll always take the wrestler unless I have valid reason not to, but I'm betting the under at plus money. That seems like a really, really, really good spot. All right, next fight of the night. We have Felipe Buns at plus 135 going up against Zhalgas Zumagulov at minus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 210. Under 2.5 at plus 170. Let's start with Zhalgas, my boy. I like him. I think he's very good. And I think he pissed off the wrong person because Zhalgas is, you're going to hear every person talk about it. He's 1-5 in the promotion. Realistically, I think he's 4-2. At the end of the day, his very first night against Julian Paiva was the first fight MMA came back. He was the very first fight we saw post-COVID when he fought Paiva. And I thought he got screwed on the decision. I really did think he won. He landed more strikes. He got more takedowns. Everything leaned in his direction, and then the judges gave it to Paiva, the up-and-comer. His very next fight, he fought Amir Albazi, the Amir Albazi who might fight for a title over Royval, which is complete bullshit. Give my boy Raw Dog the title shot, but at the end of the day, Albazi's still number 3 in the world, and he went toe-to-toe with him. It was 1-1 going into the third round in a very close fight. I thought Albazi won, but he literally went toe-to-toe with the third-ranked guy in the world. He then got served Jerome Rivera as a thank you for your service fight, and he handled business accordingly, not finishing him and submitting him in 2 minutes. Then he fought Manel Kopp, who is a top 10 guy in the weight class, and he did get knocked out. I have nothing to say there. Kopp hits like an absolute truck, and he just got hit sticked. Jeff Molina, I locked Jeff Molina that night, and I am convinced Jeff Molina lost that fight. But again, Zhalgas pissed off the wrong person, and they went ahead and they gave Jeff Molina the split win. Jeff Molina himself said he lost that fight. So that's a little concerning. And then he fought Charles Johnson. And Charles Johnson, it was again, this is his 6th fight in the UFC and his 3rd split decision. The thing is, the judges don't give Zhalgas split decisions. It always goes the other way. And of course, they gave Charles Johnson the nod when, again, I had money on Charles Johnson, and I thought he lost. So I got lucky. My bankroll thinks Zhalgas, but he's realistically 4-2. He is the best 1-5 I've ever seen in UFC history. And again, he's lost 3 straight. He's only won 1 fight, and yet the UFC still has him on the books. It's because they know. They know. And he's fought good people in the past. He's fought Tagir Ulianbekov. He's fought some guys over on the Russian regional scene that are nasty. He's came out on top. It's very long-winded about trying to defend my boy Zalgas, but at the end of the day, he has multiple wives he has to feed, so he's here to get that dub. He has good striking, he has good wrestling, he has good jiu-jitsu. He's an overall generalist. So he's just very good everywhere. He has a good schedule. He has pretty good cardio. He just can't win a fucking decision to save his life. On the flip side, we have Buns. I don't know how you're supposed to say his actual last name. I'm just saying Buns because that's what I'm hoping he is. He didn't look that bad, to be quite frank with you. He looked okay on the regional scene. This picture drives me absolutely crazy. They got to change this picture on Tapology. Absolutely not to that hat. But at the end of the day, he is phenomenal jiu-jitsu. The dude's really, really good on the ground. And his striking's not bad. Mainly because he's so good on the ground. He's kind of like a Charles Oliveira to where they'll throw spinning attacks and flying knees because if you take them down, that's where they want to be anyway. So he throws some wild shit on the feet and he's pretty powerful. He's pretty decent striking. He's going to have a forward reach advantage here, which everyone does against Zalgas. But he's 33 and he's making his debut. He trains with the Pitbull brothers, so I don't know if it's going to hurt or help his psyche with Pitbull fighting the day before against my boy Sergio Pettis. I don't know. That just seems weird. Again, his wrestling's not that good. His counters are pretty decent. But the thing with this guy is I can't tell if he's good or bad. Like his fight tape makes him look okay. When you look at his record, he beats these guys that are 10-5, that are 13-9, that are 7-0 or 0-0 and 4-2. But sorry, not 7-0, 7-0-1, 5-1, 2-0. Like he's beating okay guys. They're just not, they don't have the greatest records. But then you go over and you look at the guys he's losing to. They're 5-1, they're 7-0, they're 8-0, they're 10-1, they're 23-8. So he's losing to guys that are killers. He's beating guys that are okay. So what? I don't know what the real Buns is. Like I have no idea if he's good or bad. He beats everyone he's supposed to. He loses to everyone he's supposed to. What is Zalgas? Per record, it looks like Buns is supposed to win, but Zalgas' record should be 4-2 in the UFC, not 1-5. So this whole fight is just confusing to me. But I never trust a 33-year-old debuting, and he can slow down a little bit in his fights. As he might get octagon jitters. It's his first ever fight in the UFC. So though he's very good on the ground, so is Zalgas. So if he wants to take him down, I think he'll be fine there. So the pick is going to be Zalgas. The bet's going to be Zalgas. I'll just stick with my boy, the vet, and his 8 wives or whatever he has. I think he realistically has 2. I know he has multiple. So he's got to get paid, boy. Next fight of the night. We have another one that should be fun, but I don't know what the fuck to do with. We have Carlos Hernandez at plus 105 going up against Dennis Bondar at minus 125. Over 2.5 is minus 185. Under 2.5 at plus 150. I'll be honest with you. I think Carlos is trash. I don't think he's very good. People are on him this week, and I don't think he's that good, to be honest with you. His wrestling is okay. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu on paper is okay, but he got tapped out pretty easily his last fight. Granted, it was Alan Nascimento, and that guy's legit on the ground. But his schedule is also a little sketchy. I mean, yeah, he fought some guys in the UFC outside the UFC and Contender Series. 3-1, 1-1, 2-2, 2-1, 0-0, 0-0, 1-1. Like that's not the great 1-0. Sorry, not the greatest record, to be quite frank with you. I mean, he's not beating any killers. He got to the UFC, won his Contender Series fight via split decision. He fought Victor Altamirano, who is only so good to himself, and won a split decision. Like this guy also just goes to splits all the time. Everything's really close. He's a generalist. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't know if he's UFC caliber. I think he should be more of a Bellator guy, to be quite honest with you. Next fighter, we have his opponent, Dennis Bondar, who I also have no idea. Just like Buns, I have no idea if he's real or not. I mean, he has a nice, shiny 16-4 record. He has really good grappling. He has good jiu-jitsu. His wrestling's okay. His striking's okay. He looks fine on tape. He looks good on tape, but he's not fighting the greatest guys, to be honest with you. He's fighting guys that are 16-12 and 5-3 and 0-2 and 3-1 and 12-10. Like these guys do not have good records. Then he fought someone that was 23-9, then he loses. I mean, 12-6, and you lose. Like I don't know. He's the exact same thing. If you're good, he loses. If you're bad, he wins. So they're fighting each other. I don't know what to do with this. I want to go just take the over, but Bondar's generally a finisher, and Hernandez is just coming off of getting subbed in his last fight. I think Bondar's a better fighter, just contingent on what I'm seeing on fight tape. I did not like what I saw against Malcolm Gordon, but I am going to give him a little benefit of the doubt. The fight only lasted 90 seconds. He was fighting in his UFC debut. He could have had a lot of jitters, and then he broke his arm in the middle of it. So yeah, people are saying Malcolm Gordon was winning before the injury, but it was 90 seconds. It wasn't a lot to judge, and it was the kid's debut. I'm cutting him some slack. Otherwise, I mean, I think he's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think he's the better wrestler. And the striking is 50-50 to me. So I'll agree with Vegas and put him as the pick him. I mean, the bet's going to be Bondar. He could come out here, look like an absolute killer, and look like it was a great gift of a line. Or he could come out here and, in the words of Dog Pass Podcast, shit in your apple pie. So I don't know which one you're getting. I would just stay away from this fight in total, to be honest with you. But the pick is Dennis and the bet is Dennis if I'm gun to my head. Next fight of the night is another one that should be close. And a lot of these are going to be finishes, and a lot of these are probably going to be close and should make for fun fights as long as you're on the right side. And that's what another close one I have. We have a few in a row here. We're going to have Kung Ho Kang at plus 155, went up against Christian Quiones at minus 180. Over 2.5 is minus 175, under 2.5 at plus 140. If the name Quiones in the UFC sounds familiar, it's because Christian Quiones is the little brother of Jose Quinones, who has been caught from the UFC. Jose is the one that had like jiu-jitsu tattooed across his chest with 0 submissions on his record. He's a strange cat, man. But yeah, Christian is only 27 years old. He's young. He has good volume. His cardio's okay. It's not bad. It's not good. It's all right. He has good striking, and he has some pretty decent power. He's the one that came out and knocked out Khalid Taha in his last fight on short notice. He kind of picks at you a little bit like Strickland. He basically fights exactly like Sean Strickland. He has decent wrestling. He has an okay ground game on paper, and he just continually throws stuff out there with a ton of volume. He doesn't do the Sean Strickland parry, but he does fight exactly like him outside of the parry, to be honest with you. He's pretty good. I thought his brother was absolutely terrible, but this Quiones is not bad, to be honest with you. But he's young. He's 27. This is only his second UFC fight. His first one only lasted a few seconds with a very quick knockout at Taha. 3 minutes and 15 seconds to be exact. On the flip side, King has a ton of experience. King's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is nice for him. Mr. Perfect. He has pretty good striking himself. It's okay. He's a little lower volume, but in his last fight against Dana Bagdarel, he put a ton of volume out there, which was very uncharacteristic. But his cardio looked good while doing it. He has a very educated jab. He will paw at you over and over and over with that. I mean, it's just very technical. I've seen him go out there and wrestle. I've seen him use his jujitsu, and then his last fight, I saw him go out there and use a jab and strike the entire 15 minutes. He's just a vet, man. He's very savvy. He's very tricky. He's hard to deal with. He's a generalist. He's not generally a finisher. I know he finished Guido Canetti, which I mean, there's Guido Canetti. But at the end of the day, he's someone that comes out there and finds your weakness and tries to exploit that. And Dana Bagdarel reminds me a lot of Quiones and their fighting style, and he won a unanimous decision against him. And I think the vet's going to do it again at plus money. I think this could be a close fight. Mr. Perfect, I don't think it's ever been knocked out. Not to jinx it. Well, sorry, he has been knocked out before via soccer kicks, but there's no soccer kicks in the UFC. So at the end of the day, he's never been knocked out with legal stuff in his career. So he's durable enough. He's old enough. He's 35. He's about to hit that point where you can't bet him anymore. So I'm going to try to squeeze a little bit more money out of Mr. Perfect. So the pick is going to be Kang. The bet is going to be Kang. Give me the savvy vet. Next fight of the night is one that I was picking the favorite until I heard some other podcasts, and now I'm very confident in the favorite. We have Jimmy Flick at plus 205 going up against Alessandro Costa at minus 245. Over 2.5 at plus 200, under 2.5 at minus 250. Yeah, you heard that right. It's flyweight and the under is minus 250. Part of that is because of Alessandro Costa. He's good, man. He lost his last fight to the aforementioned Amir Albazi. He took it on short notice and gave him a run. He did end up getting knocked out in the third round, but again, he took it on short notice against the top guy in the world, and he looked pretty good. I thought he even won the first round against Albazi. He has good jiu-jitsu. He's very, very good on the ground. His wrestling, top notch. His takedown defense is top notch. His wrestling offense is okay. His striking's okay. He has a ton of power. Problem with Costa is that he's a little hittable and he has very low volume. He doesn't throw. He's a little bit of a slow starter, and it kind of looks like he takes the first round off, and then he comes at you hard. It's weird. I don't know why he does that. But again, 87% takedown defense. Once he does get started, he gets going and he cracks. He hits very hard. And if you want to get dangerous and try to take him down again, jiu-jitsu black belt, he will hold his own and he will tap you on a heartbeat down there. I mean, he has flying arm bars on his record. So let's not fuck with that guy on the ground. But then you don't want to fuck with him on the feet because his last win was also by knockout in 12 seconds. So yeah, he's real. And he's 27, so he's only going to get better and better. 27 is that sweet spot where these kids seem to just blossom out of nowhere, which scares me a little bit about Quinones, but Costa's 27, and I feel good about it. On the flip side, we have Jimmy the Brick Flick, who came out of retirement in his last fight just to get knocked out in the first round. Was it a weird stoppage? Yeah, it was a weird hammer fist by Charles Johnson. I probably wouldn't have stopped it there, but I totally get it. You can't argue the stoppage. His jiu-jitsu's top notch. It's very, very good. His wrestling's okay. He doesn't have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is nice, but his striking's not very good. He has very bad cardio. He gasses out after the first round, and he's chinny as all hell. I mean, his career record is 16-6. How many of those losses are knockout? Let's see. Charles Johnson, knockout. Ray Rodriguez, knockout. Chris Gutierrez, knockout. Levi Moles, knockout. Will Campazina, knockout. Yeah, every single loss was by knockout. So I definitely think he constitutes as chinny. Yeah, he is very chinny. So you have someone that's great on the ground with no chin and no striking, with okay wrestling, going against someone who has a ton of power on the feet, is really good on the ground, and has pretty decent wrestling. And 87% takedown defense. It sounds like they're going to have to stand, and it sounds like Costa might kill Jimmy Flick in the octagon. And one guy was coming off a retirement. So the pick is going to be Costa. The bet is going to be Costa, and I think you're getting pretty decent odds on him because no one really knows who he is yet. Next fight of the night. Again, we're going back-to-back locks here, baby. We have Hani Barcelos at minus 230 going against Miles Johns at plus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 165. Under 2.5 at plus 135. Let's start with Hani. I think he's good. I think he's a very, very, very good fighter. He trains with the Brazilian wrestling team, so he's very good wrestling. He's a coral belt, so he's like a 3rd-degree black belt, so he's very good on the ground. And his striking is top notch. It's fast, it's powerful. His striking is very, very good. There's a very good strength of schedule. He has 93% takedown defense. His cardio, he can't slow a touch, but it's fine. He'll go a hard 15. And you're thinking, what is wrong with him? Why is he only a minus 230 favorite? It's because his last fight he got knocked out. Was it by Umar Nurmagomedov? Yeah, but he got knocked out and he got deaded 5 months ago, and he's 36 years old. So people are starting to think, hey, you got rocked by Victor Henry. Then 2 fights later, you got knocked out cold by Umar. Is your chin starting to go, buddy? Is it just getting that time because of how old you are? The answer is probably yes. To be quite honest with you, if he faces a power puncher, it does scare me. Trevin Jones, again, was just better everywhere than Trevin Jones, and Trevin Jones does have a puncher's chance. He hits decently hard, but I just figured Hani was so good. I cannot not lock Hani. And he came through. And honestly, this is the exact same scenario. Miles Johns is all right, but Hani is the better wrestler. He's the better striker. He's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. The only thing Miles Johns can do is try to out wrestle him. He has a college wrestling pedigree, but he hasn't really wrestled in the UFC. He's only gotten 2 takedowns since he's been in the UFC. His regional scene, all he did was shoot fucking double legs. When he fought Adrian Yanez, double, double, double. Like everywhere, all he did was double people. In the UFC, 2 of them. And in the UFC, how does he lose? By knockout. He got submitted by John Castaneda, but he got rocked a few times there. And he also got knocked out by Mario Batista in the second round. So he's been finished, both of his losses. He has a tendency to slow in his fights as well. He's at Fortis, which is a good camp, but I don't know, man. He wants to counter strike, and I just don't think that's how you beat Hani Barcelos, to be honest with you. He backs up and tries to counter. He's not a striker. He's a wrestler who refuses to wrestle now because he has a bad gas tank. He wants to strike. I don't think this is the right matchup for him. So the pick is going to be Hani. The bet's going to be Hani. I feel real confident in it, outside of the fact that he's 36 and he's coming off of a knockout. So if he gets cracked here, he needs to retire. If he goes out there and looks dominant, he probably still needs to retire. All right, next fight of the night is going to be a fun one that I feel confident in. But again, I really, really value some other podcasts, and they weren't as confident in this fight. So we hopped on that Costa train. But I kind of believe in Muslim Salikov here at -190, going up against Nicholas Dalby at +160. Over 2.5 is -175. Under 2.5 at +140. Let's start with Salikov, man. He has really, really good striking. The King of Kung Fu, appropriate name for him. But look at this picture. It's in like black and white. He had hair. And it's because he's 39 years old currently. You don't even hardly recognize this guy anymore. This is not what he looks like. This is what he looked like 20 years ago. This is not what he looks like now. The dude is literally 39 years old. But King Kung Fu, he lives up to the moniker. He has good striking. He's coming off a knockout of Andre Fiallo. He trains at a good camp at Nova União. His jiu-jitsu never really been tested, but apparently is okay. His wrestling, he's Russian, so he knows how to wrestle. Although he predominantly strikes, if you're Russian just by nature, you're good at shooting doubles, and he is. He uses it in his fights. He usually gets like one takedown a fight just to kind of steal a close round. He knows how to manipulate that, and he's overall a good fighter. Problem with him is that he's getting a little chinny, and it's because he's 39 years old. The Leech put him out in the second round, but he won a close fight against Zaleski. Zaleski looks like an absolute tank. Ronaldo's good. He beat him. Andre Fiallo, again, he knocked him out in the third and looked dominant. He's a really good fighter, to be honest with you. He's 39. He's just old. That's really his only knock, is that he can slow down a little with his cardio because he's 39 years old, and his chin might be a little susceptible because he's 39 years old. But the good news in this matchup, and the reason I originally locked him, is because his opponent is 38 years old. He's no spring chicken himself. He has a good record at 21-4. It's a little fraudulent, to be honest with you. There's a lot of fights where, like the Warley Alves fight, I thought Warley won, but they gave him the split. Claudio Silva was beating his ass until he gassed out like he always does. Tim Means beat the shit out of him. That's concerning. Daniel Rodriguez, they gave him the win, but that was very, very sketchy. That was the definition of a robbery. Alex Oliveira was always overrated, and then you have all these guys on the regional scene that weren't really that good, to be honest with you. Zach Cummings, that's not the greatest loss. Beating Zaleski in that split, that was another split. This guy, whenever he goes to a split decision, seems to win. So I don't know, man. He's old. He's an okay striker. His cardio I've seen look really bad, and I've seen it look really good. He does this weird breathing thing that'll piss you off the entire time, where he's just breathing really heavy at his mouth from the start of the fight till the end of the fight. You can't really tell if he's tired or not. His jiu-jitsu is not the greatest. His wins aren't the greatest. 65% takedown defense. If Muslim wanted to take advantage of that, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to want to strike. And I think Dalby has more volume. Salikov can have pretty low volume at times. And Dalby will have a 4.5-inch reach advantage here. But Salikov kicks a ton and does a lot of like spinning back kicks and shit. So I don't know, man. I think they're pretty equal. Only I think I give Solokhov the slight edge in striking. I'd give Dalby the edge in chin and volume, but Solokhov the edge in wrestling. So at the end of the day, I'll choose Muslim to win, and I'm going to end up betting Muslim. I'll probably throw him in some parlays, but I'm already betting Hani, so I don't want to bet too many of these old guys. But honestly, I'm probably going to end up rolling with both. I might just throw them both in an old man parlay and cross my fingers and hope their chins hold up. Speaking of chins holding up, next fight of the night will not last long. We have Nicholas Mata at plus 160 going up against Manuel Torres at minus 190. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 100. Under 1.5 minus 130. Let's start with Torres because he's someone that I wanted to fade. I don't think he's that good. He is that scary age. He's 28 years old, so he could be getting better. His striking's okay. It's just when you look at his record, round one finish, round one finish, round one finish, round one, lost in round one, lost in round one. Round one, he lost he won a split here, which is nice. Round one, round one, round one, round one. So he's only made it out of the first round one time in 15 fights. I have no idea how his cardio is. It does not sound like it's very good. His jiu-jitsu, he got tapped out twice. He has 2 losses and he was submitted twice. So his jiu-jitsu may be a little bit of a work in progress. But he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. He carries a ton of power. He has good striking. He only throws hooks and uppercuts, and he throws everything at 100%. He doesn't just touch you. He tries to put you out with every single shot. And he's pretty high volume. He comes marching at you like crazy. It's kill or be killed in there with him. And either you're going to catch him or he's going to catch you. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts between it. He is coming at you from the bell. On the flip side, he's charging at a power puncher and Nicholas Mata. Nicholas Mata also hits like an absolute truck. He has good striking. He has a ton of power. My problem with Mata is that he can be a little chinny at times. He's 13-4. All 4 of his losses, I believe, are knockout. Jim Miller, knockout. Robert Hale, knockout. Antonio Carlos Ribeiro, knockout. Claudio Marcinio, guillotine. Okay. He's been finished in all 4. So 3 knockouts, 1 submission. So you can go out and finish this guy. He likes to pressure forward, and he looks a lot better when he's going forward. When you back him up, he doesn't look as comfortable. So this whole time, I'm thinking it's just going to be a firefight. Torres is going to come out swinging. Mota's going to come out countering, and whoever hits who first is going to win. So I was all over betting Mota plus 160, but I kind of flipped to the Torres side last second, just because Mota just seems a little more chinny, and I have seen him back up before, and Torres will not back up. He goes forward, and he swings hard, and all it takes is one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trust the chin and the pressure. So the pick is going to be Torres. The bet is going to be Torres, but I cannot wait to fade Torres. It's coming, and it's coming soon. Next fight of the night, we have Pat Sabatini at minus 180 going up against Lucas Almeida at plus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 105. Under 2.5 minus 135. And we have another striker versus grappler matchup here. Let's go ahead and start with the grappler and Pat Sabatini. He's a very good grappler. He's very, very, very good on the ground. His wrestling's good, man. His wrestling is sneaky good. I think he only wrestled D2, but he has pretty good double. He has pretty good body locks. He can take you down any way he wants. He's freakishly strong. His striking's not the greatest. And his chin, you like tap it once and he's going out. He's a very, very chinny fighter. He's very low volume. Like I'm talking 1.8 significant strikes per minute. Like it's bad. Bottom 10 in the UFC bad. Like he does not throw on the feet. But I read a stat to where he spends 75% of the fights in the UFC have been on the ground. So he's always on the ground, whether you're taking him down, whether you're dropping him down there like Jamal Emmers did, whether he's taking you down, you're going to end up on the mat with him where he is just absolutely dominant. So his low volume doesn't matter when he's on top of you fishing for submissions or going body head just to keep the ref from standing you up. But his cardio does concern me. I've seen it look okay, and then I've also seen him flat out gas out multiple times. On the flip side, we have the striker in Lucas Almeida. He does not gas out. And I tell you, this guy is the complete opposite. He has a ton of power on the feet. He looks extremely good on the feet. Extremely high volume. His cardio is really good. He'll fight for days. His jujitsu's good. He's actually a jujitsu black belt. You don't see it often because he wants to strike so much, but I'm not, don't hear what I'm not saying. He is not Anderson Silva, but I'm saying everyone forgets Anderson Silva was a black belt because he was having fun knocking everyone out and he's doing a good job of it. Same with Lucas Almeida. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He's a better grappler than striker, to be honest with you, but he goes out there and he's knocking everyone out because he has a ton of power and he looks good doing it and has a ton of fun doing it. He fought Daniel Zuhelber. That was a very close fight in Contender Series. Then he came out and put his debut against Mike Trezano, got hurt, had a few canceled fights, and then here we are. His wrestling's not good. His wrestling's not good at all. And that's where we run into some issues. Pat Sabatini wants to wrestle, take you down, and squeeze and hold on for dear life. Almeida wants to stand and brawl and put you out with punches and punches. Although he's good on the ground, he may not get tapped out. So then you start looking at over-unders. And if Almeida wins, it's definitely the under. If Sabatini wins, it's probably the over. So I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this fight. I bet against Almeida with Mike Trezano, and I felt stupid. I was impressed by Lucas, and I kind of want to side with him. A lot of people are going to Pat Sabatini's side and siding with the favorite, but not with these odds. Pat's chin is that bad. You can't get knocked up by Damon Jackson and then expect me to bet you at minus 180. So the pick is going to be Lucas Almeida. The bet's going to be Lucas Almeida, and we are straight dog chasing, baby. And I'd probably take him by knockout, to be honest. Speaking of knockouts, next fight of the night, we have Christian Leroy Duncan, CLD, at minus 175, going up against Armin Petrosian at plus 150. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 140. Under 2.5 plus 110. Let's start with CLD. I think CLD is good. I think he's fun. He's 8-0. He has a few losses on his amateur record, which is nice. He's tasted what defeat is like. But nothing but wins on the professional side, man, and cool ones. Spinning elbow, flying knee, punches, spinning back fist. Like he has some crazy finishes. they're basically all finishes and they're all fun. He's a very, very good striker, former basketball player. He's just an athletic freak. He's gonna have an 8-inch reach advantage here. His jiu-jitsu is a little questionable. His wrestling is all right. I've seen him utilize it before, but that's not his main strong suit. He's not that good of a wrestler. He's predominantly just a striker with a ton of power, and he's very flashy, and it's very fan friendly and very judge friendly, to be honest with you. On the flip side, we have Armin Petrosian, who is also pretty fan friendly and judge friendly. He has very good striking. His wrestling is ass, like 25% takedown defense. That's some of the lowest I've ever seen. And it's not like one of these jiu-jitsu guys that want you to take them down. He doesn't want to go down. He just can't stop it. He literally can't stop a takedown, but he pops right back up. Part of the reason it's 25% is because if you get him down, he is popping right back up, and you have to keep doing it. So he's giving up like 10 takedowns a fight. But he's only down there for a total of like a minute because he pops right back up. You can't hold this man down. He has a lot of volume here. He has good cardio. He's fought some pretty decent guys. So what we're really looking at is a young guy with a ton of power and good striking, going up against a veteran with a ton of volume and good striking. Neither one generally wrestle, so this is a standard ordeal now. Petrosian has been knocked out in the past, but he's only been knocked out one time in his career. I don't say he's chinny, just because I mean he's fought AJ Dobson, he's fought Gregory and Rodriguez, and those guys punch very hard, and his chin held up. I think he just got caught in this fight back in 2021, and I doubt it happens again. So I don't know. I think if it goes to the decision, you're looking at damage versus volume. And usually they say damage, but Petrosian throws so much goddamn volume out there, they have no choice but to give it to him. And you look at his last fight, unanimous against AJ. Fight before that was a close fight against Kaio. Could have been a split. It was unanimous. I think it should have been a split. Gregory Rodriguez was a split. I just kind of see a split decision coming here or a CDL knockout. So I don't know which one I'm going with. but I know which one pays more. So I know a lot of money has come on Petrosian, and the last time I checked, he was at plus 120. So if you're gonna do it, you're probably gonna end up betting him by decision. I don't think he's getting a knockout. I went crazy and bet him by split decision at plus 1200, and I think it could happen. I truly do think that that could happen. Or I also think Christian Leroy Duncan could go out there and knock him out. So the pick is gonna be Christian, but the bet is Armin at plus money. You have to take the vet with more volume at that point. And that takes us to the co-main event of the evening, and one where we can kind of save some time. We have Armin Zarukian minus 1,000 going up against Joaquim Silva at plus 625, over 1.5 plus 100, under 1.5 minus 130. Silva's coming in taking this fight on short notice. He has pretty good jiu-jitsu. He has pretty decent power. He's extremely hittable. He's extremely chinny. He has 65% takedown defense. Like, he's 12-3, which is nice. He's been in the UFC forever, but he fights once a year, and he doesn't fight the greatest people. And when he fights anyone fairly decent, he loses. Vince Vitel's okay, but at the end of the day, Vince won. Nazareth Hackpress is okay, but Nazareth won. Ricky Glenn looks okay, but he won. Like, I don't know, man. And he's getting knocked out by Hacker by Nazareth. Nazareth doesn't get a ton of knockouts in the UFC. Ricky Glenn really doesn't get a ton of knockouts in the UFC, and he got knocked out in 30 seconds. There's just a lot of concern with him. On the flip side, you have Armin Tsarukyan, who is the future champ. Like, Armin Tsarukyan kind of reminds me of the Aaron Blanchfield of the men's lightweight division. He has really good wrestling, like very, very, very good wrestling. Good striking, and it's improving. And he used to be a little bit of a decisionator, but he's starting to come into his own, and he's finished the last three of his 4 wins. He has good jiu-jitsu himself. He's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage here. He's a really good strength of schedule. He can slow down in his fights a few times. He did miss weight against Matt Favola and slowed down, but that could have just been something weird going on. That was during the Fight Island times too. So, at the end of the day, I mean, beating Mercier is aged very well. Islam was his UFC debut. He took the fight on short notice and honestly might have won a round against him. And not only did he take a fight on short notice in his debut against Islam Makhachev, that was in 2019. It's 2023 and he's 26 years old. So 2019 was 4 years ago. He's 22 years old fighting Islam Makhachev on a debut, giving Islam one of his toughest fights. So that's crazy to say. Davi Ramos is good. Matt Favola good. Chris Giago's good. Joel Alvarez good. Mateusz Gamrot, this shows that he lost here. A lot of people called that a robbery. I personally didn't see that fight. It was on my birthday, and I was doing other stuff and didn't see the main event. But I heard it was a robbery. And I just, for whatever reason, didn't go back and watch it during my fight tape. I have no idea why. But Damir Ismagulov, I did watch. And Damir Ismagulov is one of the best fighters that you've never heard of, and he went out there and dominated. So Armin Tsarukyan is an absolute tank. He's 26. He'll probably be champ within the next 3 years. He's the real deal. So the pick is Armin. The bet would be Armin, but over 1,000 and counting, you cannot bet that. So at this juncture, again, he has finished 3 of his last 4, but he's generally a little bit of a decisionator. So I might try to take the over since it's only 1.5. I don't feel good about it because Silva's a little chinny, but I'm just searching for dog money at this point because everything is steamed. There's nothing you can do there. So the pick is Armin. The bet I'm just staying away from because it's too juiced, or I'll take a stab at the over if I'm having a good night on Saturday. And then that takes us to the main event. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button ASAP. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. But if you made it all the way through here, we made it to the main event. We have Marvin Vettori minus 110, Jared Cannonier minus 110. Straight pick 'em, homie. Over 4.5 minus 155, under 4.5 at plus 125. Let's start with Marvin. Marvin's an okay wrestler. He's an okay striker. He's an okay jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's durable as all hell. He has a pretty good strength to schedule, fought for the title twice, has pretty good cardio. There's nothing wrong with Marvin, except for the fact that he's pillow fisted. He can't knock out me. Like, he can't knock anyone out. He just, all of this muscle just to hit like a bantamweight. It's weird. He has zero power whatsoever. I don't know, man. He can just get outclassed. His last fight against Roman Dolidze, I know they gave him the win. I thought Roman won that fight. I thought that was a little bit of a robbery. A fight before that, Robert Whitaker's the GOAT, just came out there and pieced him up. Paulo Costa, he got a win over. And then Izzy Adesanya just destroyed him. He went out there and grapple fought Kevin Holland. He went out there and fought Jack Hermanson on short notice, which is a good win, but Jack also got like eye poked or something and was hurt in round one. So they should probably run that back, to be honest with you. Carl Robertson, not really an impressive win. Andrew Sanchez, it's all right, I guess. The first Izzy loss, it's okay. Amari, I don't know. He's fought some pretty decent guys, but at the end of the day, he's a top 5 guy and he's a generalist. That's all he is a generalist. He is not bad anywhere, but he's just good everywhere. He's not great anywhere, and he's not a finisher. On the flip side, we have Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier has really good striking. He has shockingly good cardio and an interesting power and physique for someone that's also 39 years old. When you look at Muslim Solikov and then you look at Jared Cannonier, they do not look like they're the same age. He has a ton of power, great get up game once you take him down, a good schedule. My only problem with him is his 64% takedown defense. He's at a good camp at MMA Lab, but 64 is a pretty low number. Sean Strickland took him down. That's not good. Sean Strickland can wrestle, but he doesn't do it often, so that's not good. Derek Brunson took him down 3 times. That fight ended in the second round, and all 3 rounds were the first round. Kelvin Gastelum took him down. Robert Whitaker took him down. Jack Hermanson took him down. It He's just not a very good wrestler. The Ian Cutelaba fight, he took him down like 6 times. It's his takedown defense, and he doesn't get stuck on his feet. He does pop back up, but he just loses a lot of time down there. I don't know. Marvin's going to be able to take him down. And the last time Marvin fought someone that was predominantly a striker, that was just no jiu-jitsu threat whatsoever, was Izzy, and he attempted to take him down a lot. He did the same thing with Kevin Holland. Whenever he knows someone has shaky takedown defense or he's just outgunned on the feet, Marvin turns into a wrestler, and he has the cardio to do so. And he has cardio to do so for 25 minutes, and I think that's going to be what he tries to do again. So I understand why he was the favorite. The pick is going to be Marvin. I personally have a bet on Jared because it was plus 160, and I thought the line was way off. Now that it's a straight pick 'em, I think you have a ton of value on Marvin. So I flipped because of the line flipping. So the pick is going to be Marvin. The bet's going to be Marvin, but God, I don't feel good about it. I would stay away from this fight. If anything, I would probably just bet the over 4.5 at minus 155. It's probably the best bet here. And that's UFC Vegas 75. It's going to be a fun card. Although you may not know all of these people, you're going to remember them with some of the fights that are about to go down. It's a 14 fight card. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great night, and it's going to be the best night when we win all the money from the sports books, baby. Let's get it.